the 6th State Conference of Association of Kerala Water Authority Officers. I firstly, on behalf of the All India Kisan Sabha, extend my greetings to all of you on this important conference that you are having today. It is at a crucial juncture that you are having the 6th State Conference of the organization. And we all know that we are just meeting here almost immediately after a huge tragedy that has happened in Pahalgam, Kashmir, where about 26 tourists were killed by terrorists. Firstly, I would like to pay my respects to all the 26 tourists and including one Kashmiri tourism worker on this occasion, and then carry forward with the responsibility that you have entrusted on me. Dear comrades, we are in the last 10 years, we have had a government here which has been attacking everything that has been good about our land. It is attacking democracy, it is attacking the secular foundations of our country, the federal structure, the Constitution of India, and also the harmony that has always existed in our country. Everything is being attacked. The rights of the working people, rights of the farmers, rights of the people to organize themselves, which are all guaranteed by our constitution, that is being attacked in a major way. However, in 2014, when Narendra Modi and BJP contested the elections, they made a lot of attractive promises. It was a campaign that was launched against the corruption that was existing. It was a campaign against unemployment, against poverty. It was also claiming that it will reverse the agrarian crisis that was existing in our country and bring good days to all. Achhe din aayenge. That was the promise made by Narendra Modi and BJP in 2014. It is true that between 2009 and 2014, the UPA 2 government, also there was a lot of problems that our country faced. Increasingly speeding up the efforts to privatize all public assets, that has gone on in a big way during that time. There was increased corruption. Agrarian crisis had also become very acute, in which many farmers were forced to commit suicide. Unemployment was also rampant. So naturally, as an opposition party, the BJP could make use of all this to package attractively in their manifesto the demands of all sections which were facing problems during the UPA 2 government. So the promise of Achhe Din, we have to check what has happened in the last 10 years. As far as farmers are concerned, the promise was that farmers' incomes would be doubled, farmers would be provided minimum support price at least 50% more than the cost of production. The inputs for agriculture, seeds, fertilizers, etc. would be provided at lesser rates, subsidized rates. Insurance would be provided if there is crop loss. There would be cheap credit provided for farmers. Literally all the demands that the organization like our All India Kisan Sabha makes, almost all the demands were on the BJP manifesto in 2014. Along with that was also the promise that workers' rights would be protected, land rights of people would be protected, water would be provided to every field. Har Khet Ko Pani was a significant slogan of the BJP in 2014. In the last 10 years, what has happened as far as farmers and working class are concerned? That is something which we have to look at. More than 1,12,000 farmers and agriculture workers have committed suicide in the last 10 years, according to the BJP government figures, according to the National Crime Records Bureau figures. In the same period, 3,25,000 migrant workers, people who migrate from rural areas, coming from farmers' families, agriculture workers' families, who are not getting jobs in the rural areas, who are forced to migrate to the urban areas, to the cities in search of job. They are not getting jobs and they are also falling into a debt trap, and more than 3,25,000 such people, mostly younger people, have committed suicide in this period. Youth unemployment is at the highest. Unemployment, it was one of the major issues in the Modi-led BJP's manifesto. 2 crore jobs every year for our youth was promised. What is happening today when Pahalgam incident has taken place? If you have been listening to the different news items, Major General Bakshi raised this issue about how about 1,84,000 posts are vacant because the last few years there have been no recruitment. Unemployment in 45 years has touched the highest. That is the situation. In terms of the Har Khet Ko Pani, water to every field, there has not been major investment in irrigational projects. There has been, on the other hand, effort to boost the private companies, especially in drip irrigation and so on. Very importantly, one particular agreement that they have entered into is with a company called Netafim, which is based in Israel. And they are making profits wherever resource-rich people are able to pay for such drip irrigation system. That is something we have to. But in the last 10 years, there have been continuous struggles that we have been able to build. In 2016, on November 8th, the note ban was imposed. There was no discussion with any state governments, no discussion with any political parties. During that time, on November 8th, I was in a district called Anandpur in Andhra Pradesh. Anandpur in Andhra Pradesh is an area which is facing the fastest desertification. After Jaisalmer, the fastest desertification is happening in Anandpur. In Anandpur, on the next day after the note ban, farmers' produce there was no one to buy farmers' produce. Vegetables, fruits, and flowers, especially perishable goods, the farmers were forced to dump in the market and go back without any earning. On the way, we found many of the farmers who had grown cabbage and such crops, because it is not fetching even the transportation cost. They are just using the tractor and so that it could at least fertilize the field for the next season. So during the note ban, there were many suicides that happened. Then came, even before that, the attack on land rights came in 2014 December. You see, it is very important to understand the contrast between their manifesto and what they did. Whatever was promised, they did exactly the opposite. In the manifesto, it was said there would be a scientific land use policy. BJP manifesto in 2014. And it was said there would be no forcible acquisition of land. But in 2014 December, the land acquisition ordinance was brought. Land could be taken, farmers' land could be taken without the consent from farmers. Against that, we brought a united movement against the land acquisition ordinance, where we could unite broader sections, not just All India Kisan Sabha, but broader sections, civil society groups, agriculture workers organizations, Adivasi Dalit organizations, fishing community, and so on. We built an issue-based unity. These unities that we have built, it is very important, I feel, for an organization like yours, especially in the important area of water, the water distribution and so on. It is very important that you understand the importance of issue-based unity. The attack is very tough and very strong attack that we are facing. It cannot be fought by just one organization or so. You will have to think about how you can build broader unity with the consumers, with the workers, with the officers, and all those who are concerned about access to good quality water for every citizen of our country. So you will have to think about in that direction. Later in 2017, there was firing in Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh. 6 farmers were killed. It was a BJP government. Unfortunately, the person who was responsible for killing 6 farmers in Mandsaur is today the agriculture minister of our country. What was the reason for this? We went to the houses of these farmers. They were not All India Kisan Sabha members. On their houses, BJP flag was still flying. They were cultivating garlic. Garlic, per the cost of cultivation per kg, according to the farmers, is 33 to 35 rupees. But the BJP government claims it is 27 rupees. Let us take the BJP government's position to be correct. But in the Neemuch wholesale market in 2017, 1 kilo of garlic was fetching only 1 rupee. Cost of production, farmers claim 33 to 35, the government claims 27, but farmers were getting 1 rupee. On the same day, the Reliance Fresh run by Ambani was selling it in the markets in the cities for 147 rupees a kg. Some others were selling it for 220 rupees a kg. So you see the kind of profits that private sector is earning. I am talking more about agriculture because directly, but it comes to every sector. It is true of every other sector that the corporate sector is only interested in maximizing their profits. They are not interested in any. They don't have any charitable purpose. They are not interested in the lives and livelihood of the poor people. That is very clear. So 1 rupee when the farmer is getting, it is being sold at 147 or 220. This is in 2017. But in 2022, 1 kilo of garlic in Mandsaur was fetching 50 paisa. Cost of production. We are all buying garlic. The Kerala government has fixed a base price for garlic. It is 139 rupees per kg. What is the orientation of the government is also important to understand. There may be lapses on that also. Paddy procurement. Kerala is procuring paddy at 2,820 or 850. In Bihar, for instance, where paddy is being procured, there is no procurement by government. Farmers are selling paddy as low as 800, 1,000, sometimes 1,200. It is one country, you see the difference because of the policies. So against the Mandsaur killing, we formed another issue-based unity called All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee, which had around 250 organizations on 2 issues. They were not willing to, when we say, let us take, workers are on strike, let us support the strike, then other organizations will say, no, we are only for 2 issues, no workers' strike. Whenever we are raising struggles, there will be communal polarization created by the BJP RSS. You know about the killings in the name of Goraksha. Many people are being killed. When we said we will have a protest against the killings in the name of Goraksha, many of the organizations in the All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee said no, we are only for two issues, price and for loan waiver, only two issues. But when you build such unities, when you continuously interact with them over the period of time, within 1 year of continuously working together, they also started taking up issues that we are raising. Against Goraksha attacks, they started speaking. They started expressing solidarity with workers' strike, not actively participating at that time. Now, they are also actively participating. The Samyukta Kisan Morcha has given a call on May 20th. Central Trade Unions has given a call for an All India general strike. The same day, Samyukta Kisan Morcha has given a call for rail roko, road roko, or and support the workers in all ways. So that is the direction in which we could bring through this issue-based unity. So what started as a very small initiative initially, gradually now more than 500 organizations of farmers, small and big, have come together and they are willing to take up these issues. They are willing to give a slogan, Vans go back. Comrade mentioned about the tariff wars. If the free trade agreement, bilateral trade with America is being implemented, then there would be duty-free import of many crops. Our agriculture is going to be destroyed. They are also giving a call, like we gave a call, Vans go back. The Samyukta Kisan Morcha also gave. It could not be thought about 10 years back. Unimaginable. 10 years back, many of these groups would not even allow us to enter some villages. So that situation has changed. They are all realizing the dangers that under the present government, present regime, supported by a fascist RSS kind organization, they all realize the dangers of that. In 2020, we had another unique strike, that is the strike against the 4 labor codes and against the 3 farm laws. That was also a united struggle. Samyukta Kisan Morcha and Central Trade Unions had a coordinated approach, and we could ensure after 380 days of struggle, in which 736 of our comrades, farmers, died in that struggle. ആ സമരത്തിൽ 736 സമരസഖാക്കളാണ് മരിച്ചു വീണത്. കോവിഡ് മഹാമാരിയുടെ സമയത്ത് ലോകം തന്നെ ലോക്ക്ഡൌണിൽ ഇരിക്കുമ്പോൾ, ആ മഹാമാരിയുടെ ഭീതി കാരണം പുറത്തു വരാതിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ആ സമയത്താണ് കർഷകരും തൊഴിലാളികളും ആ സമരം നടത്തിയത്. 736 സമരസഖാക്കളാണ് മരിച്ചത്. കൊടും തണുപ്പിലും കൊടും ചൂടിലും മഴയത്തും കൊടുങ്കാറ്റിൽ ഷാജാൻപൂർ ബോർഡർ, രാജസ്ഥാൻ ഹരിയാന ബോർഡറിൽ കൊടുങ്കാറ്റിൽ ഈ ടെന്റുകളൊക്കെ നശിക്കുമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ അടുത്ത ദിവസം വീണ്ടും സമരത്തിൽ ഇരിക്കുകയാണ്. So that kind of struggles could be built. Kisan Long March from Nasik to Mumbai, 186 kilometers. It is unimaginable, the situation in some of these states. The situation which was prevalent in Kerala in 1930s. We remember that AKG led the Patini March from Malabar to Bagrasi. Today also people are dying due to hunger in these states. In Maharashtra, in that particular year, 21,000 children died due to malnutrition. Can we imagine such a situation in Kerala? One death due to malnutrition would lead to struggles, lead to protests in the assembly as well as in the streets. That is the democratic culture that could be built here. But that is not there in other parts of the country. water is a major issue in many places. We see in many areas Dalits cannot drink water even now, cannot take water. In Rajasthan, I am in charge of Rajasthan state from Kisan Sabha. Just about a year ago, a boy drank water from the school, in the pot kept in the school. He was beaten to death. Mahat Satyagraha by Baba Sahib Ambedkar was in 1927. Kerala had the Panti Bhojanam in 1939 in many of the villages in Kannur, if you see. Kodakkad, Kozhimal, many of the areas against the caste system. That our organizations have played a role. Still, that democratization has not taken place in many parts. Coming to the use of water, I was mentioning about Anandpur. Fastest desertification is happening there. But what is the situation? Someone who is resource rich controls all the water. The erstwhile feudal landlord today does not control only land but also controls the water. There is, in one field, I found one person has dug up 40 borewells. In one bore there is no water, then next that 40 places has been dug. But his fields are green. The neighboring field is just dry. It is a drought hit region. It is the hotbed of farmers' suicides. But there is no regulation of water there. This person who has dug up 40 borewells is also having a tanker service which is providing, including drinking water. That is, in many of the cities also, water has become like the World Bank mentions, is a precious commodity. So this precious commodity has also the scope to provide huge profits, which is possible. So from the 90s itself, there is the talk about privatization of water which has been going on. And in many of these areas, there have been struggles against it. As far as the farming movement is concerned, in Punjab, when for irrigation, betterment levy was levied on farmers. The farmers protested against that. The All India Kisan Sabha was in the struggle and we successfully stopped that. In neighboring Karnataka, there was again betterment levy in the northern part of Karnataka when an irrigation project came up. There were struggles led by the All India Kisan Sabha. Initially, Naragunda and Navalgunda, two farmers from All India Kisan Sabha were shot dead. There were statewide protests in which about 30 of people were killed in firing in 1980s, early 1980s. That led to a political transformation there. For the first time, the Congress was defeated in 1983. It started with this struggle. So water has, there have been water wars. I was just looking into history of water wars. If you look in from the time of the Bible or even before, in some of the places, the first water war is recorded as 2500 BC to 2350 BC. That is 2500 years before Christ. In Sumeria that is around Iraq, Tigris and Euphrates River, between two principalities there. So there have been these water wars that have been going on in many areas. That is continuing even today. Today, we all know when the Pahalgam incident has taken place. India's one of the immediate reaction was to annul the Indus Water Treaty. That shows the how important water is. Millions of people would be affected if that is implemented. That is there. How it will be implemented, whether without dam, that is another question. It is catching headlines. Newspapers, TV channels are showing that it is a strong response. But whether there is a possibility to retain this water in times of heavy rains, that is a different matter. Ukraine-Russia war. Russia has occupied parts of Crimea. So the canal water supply for Crimea, about 85% of the water comes from that. That has been stopped by Ukraine. It is being diverted elsewhere. So the importance of water. There is this old poem, I think Coleridge, if I remember right, water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. That is a situation which will emerge also if privatization is allowed in that field in a big way. Here we have to look at, here I heard there are electricity department also. Big struggles are going on in that department. We have lessons to learn from that. We in the sense, I am not just mentioning about all of you. I think All India Kisan Sabha has lessons. The general democratic movement also has lessons from that. Because I want to give the example of Chandigarh. Only about 500 workers in Chandigarh public sector electricity department. But they put up such a resistance there. I have attended protests there. More than 6,000 people taking part. Who are these people who are taking part? Resident Welfare Association people. Women, children, old people, farmers, workers from other departments, all are going to be affected due to the privatization. And what was happening there? It was a public sector which is having a profit of about on an average 200 to 250 crores every year. What was the government's role? The government wanted to give it to the Goenkas. What was the base bidding price? 174 crores. 200-250 കോടി ലാഭം ശരാശരി ഓരോ വർഷവും നേടുന്ന ഒരു പൊതുമേഖലാ സ്ഥാപനം. അതിന്റെ ബേസ് ബിഡിംഗ് പ്രൈസ് വെച്ച് 174 കോടി മാത്രമാണ്. Total assets are about 22,000 crores worth of assets. 22,000 കോടിയുടെ ആസ്തി ഉണ്ട്. അവസാനം അത് ഗോയങ്കക്ക് കൊടുത്തത് 871 കോടിക്ക് മാത്രമാണ്. Only 871 crores. ESMA was imposed. The workers were struggle was suppressed. Today, no one considers this as corruption. No Anna Hazare feels this is corruption. 22,000 crores worth of assets given at 871 crores. Now they are trying to privatize two such public sector thing in Uttar Pradesh. What is they have arrears which they have to get is about 66,000 crores. But now the government wants to give it to Adanis and others. So they will start with this 66,000 crores which are there. Along with that, there is also a push for prepaid smart meters. That is important in the water sector also. I know you have been raising issues regarding ADP and water privatization and so on. Those issues, those questions need to be raised. They are very important also. In the electricity sector, prepaid smart meters, it will cost around 8 to 10,000 rupees per prepaid smart meters, which also time to time you will have to change. About 26 crore consumers are there. In case you all shift to prepaid smart meters, then what is going to happen? Then it will be, according to a calculation, at least 2 lakh crores. Who is going to pocket this 2 lakh crores? And after maybe 6 or 7 years, you have to replace it. So that is also a source of earning for these big private companies. In the electricity sector, in many of the union territories, totally given to private. In Dadar, Nagar Haveli, it has been given to a company called Torrent. They are controlling the entire, so they decide the electricity bills. We are facing a different problem now, that is the prepaid smart meters. Only if you pay, like your phone, prepaid phone, only if you pay, how much you pay, you can speak that much. But even in the peak season, when water is required for crops, if there is no money in your prepaid smart meter, then you don't get water. So what are farmers doing? We are uprooting these prepaid smart meters wherever they have been fixed. In Odisha, we have about 2,500 prepaid smart meters were uprooted and dumped in the electricity department. In Uttar Pradesh, it has been done. In Andhra Pradesh, so a big struggle is coming up there. So there is a scope for linking up the struggle of the electricity workers and the farmers there. So June 26, the electricity workers have given a call for strike. In normal course, it will be an electricity workers strike. We have from the Samyukta Kisan Morcha, All India Kisan Sabha first gave the call, then Samyukta Kisan Morcha have given call. On June 26, the farmers will also support the strike. Will actively be part with the. So these are new developments. It never happened before. മുമ്പൊരു തൊഴിലാളി വർഗ സമരമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിൽ ആരെങ്കിലും പോയി ഒരു അഖിലേന്ത്യാ കിസാൻ സഭയുടെ നേതാക്കൾ ആരെങ്കിലും പോയി അതിലൊരു പ്രസംഗം നടത്തും, തിരിച്ചു വരും. അതിനപ്പുറം ഒന്നും നടക്കാറില്ല. It will be a worker strike. There would be no role of the farmers. Now farmers are also mobilizing. When our rights are being attacked, workers are. Comrades from SPATO and other organizations are here, even the electricity employees. The farmers' struggle would not have been successful without the support that all of you have extended. The teachers from Kerala who have contributed, even the NGO union comrades, they have contributed to the struggle in a big way. So that is a new solidarities that are emerging while we are facing a fascist kind of an attack in different fields. So this alone can ensure that we can protect our rights. When I was being relieved from the student movement in 2005, our comrades gifted me a book called Blue Gold. So that is about the resistance to water privatization. It also writes about the different struggles that are going on in different parts of the world. In Bolivia in 2000, there was a big struggle, the Cochabamba struggle, which could stop the privatization of water. Struggles are going on even within the United States, which is the main center of capitalism. Struggles are going on against the role of some of these private companies which are coming into the water sector in a big way. That is also happening. Here also, see the Suez is a French company, if I remember. About 5.5 billion liters of drinking water is being supplied to 44 million inhabitants per day in our country. That is on their site. So they are not supplying it out of some benevolent interests. They are not bothered about the lives and livelihoods of our people. It is because water is seen as a precious commodity which can get unending profits for them. But due to the resistance that has been built in many areas, there has been even the sectors which has been privatized, there has been, I think, a remunicipalization of those in many of the areas. So what I would like to say is the battle is not lost. The battle should go on, and we can you see, there are in the present days, with the increasing concentration of powers in the hands of the central government, the attack on the federal rights of the states. The struggle, when we are talking about the struggle against privatization, along with that, there should also be a simultaneous struggle to protect the rights of the people of Kerala. Every state's rights, federal rights. That is not happening. After the GST regime also, the kind of difficulties that the state governments are facing, especially opposition ruled states, that has also to be understood. Many of these projects that are coming, even tied to electricity privatization, many of them are coming tied to central funding also only if that has been implemented. Still Kerala government here has told we will not implement the particular model that the central government is talking about as far as the smart meters are concerned. So rights of the consumers, rights of the people of our country, as far as the access to water, access to electricity, access to even other sectors like education, this is something which we have to fight. We have to fight, we have to generate enough opinion among the people to ensure that this can be resisted. And even if it is a government which is not in favor of, is a neoliberal government, even there we should be able to resist it. I studied in JNU, and in JNU the fees has been low. Fees has been low in the sense, in a year, maybe when I was studying, in a year about 1,200 would be the fees. That was, but there was debate even from that time that how there are people who are drinking Coke or Pepsi per day, few bottles, and these people are able to afford. When and there should be a rationalization of fee structure. We oppose that. Certain sectors like education, then we opposed that in those days, and we were able to push back that attempt. How effectively we can do that, that is something which we have to see. The attacks are increasing, the role of the central government is there, but often when you have to concentrate your energy against the central government's attack, sometimes when people see immediate political gains here, some of them are also taking up protests against the state government. The paddy procurement issue which I mentioned, that we have seen just before the last election, how the central government has not given the funds due their share of the for the procurement of paddy. That leads to a crisis here, and in the same period both the UDF and the BJP led NDA are protesting against the state government here. But the BJP government that was ruling then in Karnataka, or the present Congress government, is not giving 2,820. They are not even procuring it at 2,300, which is the MSP. Bihar government, which is a NDA government, is not procuring at all. Their farmers are getting maximum of 1,200. A friend of mine who was a student in JNU with me, who worked in an IT company, is now cultivating paddy in 7 acres of land in Navada district of Bihar. I asked him, how much did you sell your paddy for? He said 1,200. An educated person who was involved politically with us, organizational, has the organizational sense, knows his rights, is getting 1,200. The MSP is 2,300. Our old General Secretary from Tamil Nadu, he would say, Sini Sakkare Sittappa enal ezhthile ezhdi nakkappa. That is, children are asking for sweets or sugar, and the uncle will write on a piece of paper sugar and say, you lick it. The MSP by Modi government is like that. But we are not able to expose this. We are unable to expose that. So that requires greater politicization of who are mobilized behind us, who are mobilized and see the problem in a holistic manner. That is very much important. Today, in many of the regions that we are facing, water is a major issue. Now, during this time when there is especially the global warming and climate change, water management is a major issue, which is, we all know in our country for long, especially the ruling classes have been talking about interlinking of rivers. You see, it has still not been able to. They are interlinking of rivers. It is a controversial issue ecologically. Also, there are many questions that have been raised. But it is a, as far as it is a election time vote catching slogan, it becomes the importance of water. Har khet ko pani. It gives, but there is no much stress on watershed development, water harvesting and such things. There is no incentivization of that. In the present day, now suddenly there is a big push for solar energy. A big push is happening in many of the North Indian states. The entire land, even in, for instance, in Rajasthan, land is being given cheaply for them to put, for the corporate companies to put up their solar panels. Those are the grazing land for the farmers. The animals, the cows and goats, they are not getting fodder. So there are different kinds of problems that we are facing in the present days. And water has been a very sensitive issue. Drinking water should be accessible to all. Quality drinking water, clean quality drinking water is very much required for all, and that is a struggle that has to be fought jointly by the people of our country, by the workers, by the organizations like yours. I think I have taken quite some time now and need not go on and on about these issues. Others would also be speaking about the specific problems that you are facing. The private sector, in a big way, especially the corporate cronies of the government, they want to, all the wealth of the people, they want to privatize. That is the direction in which it's going. We all know about the national monetization pipeline and so on. So it is against privatization, against the infringement on the rights of the workers through the labor code that the May 20th strike has been called. The electricity strike, I would say from your conference also, you should give a call to support the electricity strike, because that strike is not just for the electricity sector, it is for you, it is for me and for all of us. This May 20th strike to protect the rights of the working class is also equally important for all of us, because these rights, 8 hours of work, these were hard-won rights. From 1880s onwards, struggles are going on. Lot of people have given up their lives. Today, the Infosys czar Narayan Murthy and recently Larsen and Toubro person, Narayan Murthy has been telling one should work 70 hours a week, whereas the Larsen and Toubro person says 90 hours a week one should work. In America, Elon Musk is talking about 80 hours of work. This is something which the ruling classes here want to impose. Without giving proper wages, without giving any other rights, they want people to work like slaves. It is against that we have to organize. I wish the very best to this conference and conclude. Thank you.